Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is your host Majestic speaking, and today we're going to be looking back at some more MechWarrior Online here. I wanted to go back into one of the fan request builds, and this was the last one that came in from Imperialus11. He wanted a 25 million C-bill lance to be built, and so to use for one mech from each class: a light mech, a medium mech, a heavy mech, and an assault mech. Now the threshold is 25 million, but when I looked back on that video, I did notice that I was using the sale prices, and I did get the comments from you guys in the section that said, you know, you're using sale prices, I don't think you should do that, this, that, and the other thing. And this is my video that I wanted to go back and revisit that. I wanted to give you guys another video so that you can actually see the full retail price if you were to get these mechs from the store. Again, these I'm gonna not only, I figured I would go one step above last time, since you know I didn't notice I was using the sale prices at the time, and I decided not only am I going to give you the price of the actual mech, but I'm also going to factor in my custom loadout excluding the engine. So this is like the weapons, so on and so forth, that I'm putting on these mechs, and what I decided to do with them for a build. Now the what's it called? The engine is one of those factors that not only are they extremely expensive, and you know you'd probably be running around with like the worst mechs in the game if I factored them in with like decent engines and so on and so forth. But it's also one of the ones that there's a lot, the most discrepancy between. So there are a lot of people that like to put in a huge engine and go a lot faster. There are a lot of people that like to go XL versus standard, clan versus inner sphere, so on and so forth. And I felt that at least if I gave you guys the loadouts on the builds and so forth, then you know you could really play with the heat management and the size of the engine and so on and so forth yourselves if you decide to actually get these mechs. So without further ado, I wanted to dive right into this and start out again with well, the first two from the previous video have not changed. I did want to keep these two regardless, so if you do want to skip ahead and find out to where I differentiated, it is all in the heavies and the assaults that I had to choose between. But for those of you who didn't get a chance to check out that first original video on this fan request series, the first mech that I wanted in my lance is this little bugger, the Firestarter FS9S. And this guy is probably one of my favorite mechs to run around in as a light pilot. And the reason being is because of the fact that not only does it have a pretty small profile, it runs on an angle if you look at it out there on the battlefield, and that makes it extremely difficult to hit. You know, you can equip a very, very good loadout on there. I, for one, catered specifically to the quirks, and that is regarding energy heat generation, and in particular medium pulse laser heat generation. So I obviously outfitted it with the biggest engine that I could, because I really like my light mechs to run around as fast as they can and place on the biggest loadout that I possibly could. So I put 5 medium pulse lasers on there. I have an XL295 in there, which is the biggest engine that you could. Now this doesn't factor, this was a custom engine that I decided to put in there. This was just all my, you know, own doing. I'm just letting you know what I personally have on mine. This doesn't factor into the actual price. So, you know, take it from the standpoint of me just giving you the prices of these mechs. If you were to get the Firestarter FS9S in the store right now, full retail price, you're looking at 3,231,842 C-bills. Now, that's just for the mech. Now, if I stripped off, you know, the stock loadout that was on it, and I placed the loadout that I wanted to place, which was the 5 medium pulse lasers, that's an extra 600,000. So you're looking at 3.831842 as your actual price, full price, using the loadout that I placed on there. So 3.8 million is how is how much it would cost you if you were to get this one from the get-go. Just, filling it specifically for the actual mech and for this particular loadout with those medium pulse lasers, you're looking at 3.8 million. The next mech that is up in my lance for the medium class is the Blackjack 1X. I have had some of my greatest rounds with this mech, and it is an absolute terror out there on the battlefield. Even with PGI, bringing it a little back further towards Earth, it was super powerful before they did all the quirk updates and so forth on it. And this guy, I cannot tell you how in love I am to have this thing in any kind of match. And the fact that I knew that I could factor him in because of his price in my lance is what made me realize, I have to, speak a little bit about it. So if you were to buy this Blackjack 1X in the store right now, full retail price, it's actually cheaper than the Firestarter FS9S. If you can believe it, this is probably the biggest deal of the century mech that you could possibly get in the store, if you ask me. Considering it's a class heavier, but it's cheaper, and to me, it's personally more fun, and that's just because I outfitted it as a brawler. That's my playstyle. So if you were to get this mech in the store right now, it's 3.144528 million C-bills. So 3,144,528 C-bills. That's almost no, it isn't. It's almost 100,000 C-bills cheaper than the Firestarter. So, factoring in the price, first of all, is definitely what set me up to place this guy in my lance. Absolutely love it. As for the loadout that I placed on it, switching out the stock loadout into what I placed on it, it's 6 medium lasers, 2 medium pulse lasers. This guy comes with 4 medium lasers to begin with, so I factored the price as if I had to buy an extra 2 medium lasers, strip off everything else, so I had the 4 originally, plus the 2 that I had to buy, plus the 2 medium pulses that I placed on it, and that came out to 400,000. So you're paying for 2 mediums and 2 medium pulses. That's the only extra, apart from the engine, again, that you would have to pay for. And so that, all in all, comes out to 3,544,528 C-bills. Let's look on to the heavy class here. We are going to go, I looked back into the list, and, yes, there have been new mechs that have been added to the game since the last time I did this. In particular, the heavy class between the Warhammers and the Black Knights, and I really had trouble between deciding on whether I wanted to do the Black Knight or the Warhammer. I absolutely love both of these chassis, and I ultimately decided on the Black Knight because of the structure quirks. Now, the structure on this thing is absolutely insane, and because of the insane structure quirks, accompanied with a very similar loadout that you could place on the Warhammer, I decided to go with the Black Knight. In particular, the 6 or the 6R, depending which one, if you have the R, it just means you bought the resistance pack. They're the same mech, there's not much, difference between the two, so on and so forth. But the reason why I love this mech is because, A, the price is fantastic. It's an amazing mech to take out there. It's almost double the price, the full prices of both the other 2 mechs that I had mentioned. Stock from the store, if you were to get the Black Knight 6, is 6,949,667 C-bills. So almost 7 million C-bills for this guy. But it is money well spent. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. You have to work with it a little bit because of those low hard points for the lasers and so forth. But it is an absolute menace out there on the battlefield. So, whereas in my last video I chose the Ebon Jaguar, I do have to fit that $25 million threshold maximum, and so I decided, for budgetary concerns, I have to stick with mostly, or no, not mostly, all inner sphere mechs for this this challenge. And because any one of the clan mechs could easily cut your budget almost in half. And you know, if someone does decide that they want me to do another challenge build with, you know, more C-bills, so on and so forth, that's totally fine. I'll do that too. I want to see who gives it the most likes, but I'll explain all that later. But as for right now, this is the Black Knight 6, 6.949667 million C-bills. If I swap out all of the stock stuff and I put on the loadout that I placed onto it, all you're really doing is it has the 4 medium lasers that I wanted originally. Oh, that's not my real build. Here's the build that I came up with. So it comes with 4 medium lasers stock, but it comes with 3 larges, a small, and, you know, obviously the engine doesn't count. I placed in an XL360 for those of you who want to know. But I switched out. I think it comes with a standard 300 originally, so I switched that out. It comes with 4 medium laser stock, so I didn't have to pay for those. I just switched them around. I put 1 in the head, 1 on the right arm, and 2 in the left torso. The only 3 things after, you know, after market, I guess you could say, that I was putting into this mech were the 3 large pulse lasers. Now that added an extra 1,050,000 C-bills. So if you add that on top of the 6.9 million that it costs stock, you're looking at about almost 8 million, roughly. So, you know, you're right underneath that 8 million mark, actually. You're at, what is it, 7,999,000? Yeah, 7,999,000, if I did that math correctly, 667 C-bills is the total that it will come out to if you use this custom loadout. Now, again, this does not include the engine. This is a huge XL engine that I placed in there, so that's, you know, that's an insane amount of C-bills that you'd have to spend on that. But you know, again, these are the mechs that I would want to take out there on the battlefield because they do have a mix of range, a mix of brawly, a mix of scouting, a mix of, you know, harassment. It's got the mechs that I picked. I didn't want them to just be, you know, tanky ones that I would want to take out there all the time and not factor in their actual roles on the battlefield. So I definitely took everything into account. I made this the most well-rounded unit, particular to my playstyle, ones that I enjoyed using, but are certainly beneficial for you guys in case you don't have any of these mechs. If you want to know what the best, you know, bang for your buck is to take out there on the battlefield, the Black Knight 6 is definitely my heavy that I would want it to go with. So, without further ado, let's dive into the last but certainly not least out of all of them, and that is the Assault class. I decided for my Assault that I wanted to go with the Mauler MX90. This thing is an absolute menace. It is a monster. It is unbelievable to use out there on the battlefield. It's just terrifying to look at, especially, you know, you think you're making progress against it because most people strip all the armor off the arms, but that leaves with what a majority of people use as their loadout, and that is the center, left, and right torsos. That's where the armaments are. They usually put 5 AC5s on there, which is what I have on there right now. So on an alpha, you know, that's 25 points of damage direct to one single component that you're putting on with this Mauler, and it has fantastic quirks to go along with the ballistics. Certainly an absolutely fantastic mech to take out there on the battlefield. Between the ballistic range, velocity, and heat generation, you could keep firing them off. It does only have a 25-point alpha, and people will be like, well, why would you take out a mech that only has a 25-point alpha? Well, you know, try firing these things successively, and you know, doing 25 points of damage every single salvo. By the time those things, you know, calm down and you know, cool down, I should say, and refire, that's 50 points if you hit the same component. So this thing could shred through, you know, anything rather quickly. Certainly one of my favorite assault mechs to take out there on the battlefield, and if you don't have it, highly suggest it. The price, 8,250,810 C-bills stock from the store. That is full retail price. So you know, I obviously switched out the loadout completely. This didn't have one AC5 to go to you know, from the get-go, so I had to switch everything out. It had like 4 AC2s and so, you know, a couple. I think it had a couple lasers here and there. But you know, what I did with it was exactly what you know you really would want to do with this thing. Fantastic heat, fantastic dissipation. An unbelievable, you know, amount of armor, so on and so forth. It does have a little bit of bonus with the structure, but it's certainly a menace just from the firepower, and you know the intimidation factor is really real with this mech. So again, I put the AC5s on there, 5 AC5s with 7 tons of ammo. So I factored all of that into play, and I factored first in the weapons. So the AC5s, each of them cost 250,000 C-bills. So 5 of them would bring me to 1.250 million C-bills. So adding that on top of the 8.25810 million C-bills that it costs stock, you would be looking at 9.500810 million. So 9.5,810,000, you know, is the final price if you were to stock it with the loadout that I specifically placed on it. That's just for the weapons. Now, if I added the 31,500 C-bills that you would have to add for the 7 tons of ammo, you have to factor that in because of the fact that the other mechs that I took out here on the battlefield that I said I would put in my lance, they're all laser weapons. They don't require ammo. So this was the only one that I'm using ballistics with, and you know, I had to factor in that ammo because it is something that you are paying for if you want to actually use this loadout. So 7 tons of AC5 ammo comes out to 31,500 C-bills. So factoring that on top of the 9.5810 million for the Mauler, you're looking at about 32,310 C-bills. So in total, the grand total, if you guys have been following along, if you want to mimic it just so that you can make sure that I did it all right, I checked the calculation probably 10 times to make sure that I did fit within budget, and I did. And again, I came close, even with the you know, first video that I did that was around 24.99 million C-bills. This came out to 24,907,500 C-bills. That is the grand total for my lance that I would place if I had 25 million C-bills to work with. Again, this is not including engines. That is more of a, you know, it's certainly a bigger discrepancy of people like to, you know, decide between, because you know, whether you're looking again at standard versus XL, clan versus inner sphere, you know, there's a lot of different factors that come into play that people like to throw out there. So as for my builds that I placed on these mechs, you guys just got a lot of information, and you could all thank Imperialus for this suggestion for the video. I really enjoyed doing this. It really, you know, more than last time, the fact that I was using sale prices, that just made this time even more, you know, I guess, mind draining. I was thinking to myself, like, I have to fit within the budget. I can't go over. I have to use the full retail prices. I'm probably going to be going all inner sphere, which I wound up doing. But as you can see, I did fit within that 25 million C-bill threshold. And for the next fan request build, the next video that I do for this series, I want you guys to place your comments in the section below. And whoever gets the most likes and comments, that is the factor that's going to come into play. It has to be likes and comments. I'm going to do a video on your suggestions. So it could be a particular build, it could be, you know, another budgetary type of thing, it could be, you know, just gameplay on a map. You know, I'm not going to give you guys any suggestions. I want you guys to be creative. Think about something that you would want me to run out there, and you know, I'll run it for you. Obviously, your video will be featured on the channel. I'll do the full recording of it, and you know, it will be part of the fan request build series title, with your name in the description as well. So thank you guys so much again for tuning in for this episode of MechWarrior Online. This was a ton of fun for me. I really liked thinking about it in the context of, like, what would I do if I had this amount of money? Like, how would I outfit my lance if I had one? Would I, you know, how would I mix things up? And, you know, the actual loadout itself is something that you have to, you know, factor in. So I definitely wanted to give you guys that as an added bonus. The engine perspective, if someone does want to do a budgetary like Lance type of fan request build type of thing, you're gonna have to give more C-bills than 25 million because it's just not feasible with like what you're using stock. I'm thinking, I'm not even going to suggest what amount, but each engine can easily run like 2, 3, depending on the size of it. The XL295, which I placed on that fire starter, for instance, is 4.8 million. So that's almost like another mech. It is another mech. It's my Blackjack and or my I should say or my fire starter. That's a lot of Z-bills for an engine. So you have to keep that stuff in mind if you are going to make a suggestive build with budgetary restraints. Imperialus just said build a Lance with 25 million, which was fantastic because it really made you think about the actual chassis that you wanted to place for each weight class. I want to thank him again, or her, I don't know if Imperialus is a girl or a guy, but I want to thank them for the suggestion. It was, again, a ton of fun. And again, for those of you who do want to participate in this series and have your suggestion featured on the channel, leave it in the comment section below. If you want to get in touch with me either way, you can shoot me an email, which I will leave in the description, or you can leave a comment, again, just for general inquiry purposes. And I will read it. I am still getting through all the comments. I'm trying to get through them as much as I can. But if you guys do have anything in the meantime, feel free, again, to reach out in either of those two ways, and I'll be sure to answer it. But thank you guys so much again for tuning in. Again, the grand total, again, just underneath 25 million to 24,907,500 C-bills is the total with the mechs and their weapon loadouts. So again, that does not include the engines, but that's up to your discretion. So thank you guys so much again for tuning in, and I do look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care, guys.